Part 38. Madam, she has a tender heart. Author, Bh Yaoye 11U. Chapter 373. It gets dark early in the mountains. Read. Soon the whole mountain was shrouded in darkness. Xiaoduzi and others all tried to get out on the pretext of going to the toilet. Just after shouting, someone came to the door of the woodshed. I couldn't see where the person came from. Sukingyu's heart skipped a beat. Is the defense so tight? Sure enough, when they came back, they said that two people were following them. They also looked and there were guards all around. Sukingneo didn't believe in evil, so she made an excuse to go to the toilet. She can't let two men follow her, right? Take a chance. Unexpectedly, the other party was really on guard. They called two women from nowhere and took her to the toilet. Sukingyu tried to talk to them. I wanted to get some information, but the two women didn't know whether they were mute or had been warned by someone, so they didn't say a word the whole time. Didn't even ask their names. After returning to the woodshed, everyone fell silent. My heart felt a little heavy. If he was really trapped in the mountains for a year and a half, he would be really useless. It seems that I can't touch it out at night, Ling Fenggu sighed. Why don't we rush out in the middle of the night when the guards are tired, Si Yuan suggested. We are weak now, can you beat them? Zhang Yang glanced at them. Not optimistic about this suggestion. There are only 12 of them with martial arts skills, and they have to protect Sukingyu and brother Zhengbo who don't know martial arts. Even if they recover, they can't fight with so many people. And the mountain road is not familiar yet. If it were like Sukingyu's Xinjianzai, there were traps everywhere, and it would undoubtedly be a sheep caught in the tiger's mouth. What awaits them then will be stricter surveillance, and then they will be detained separately and that will be it. Let's do this for today. We'll think of a solution after we go out tomorrow. Sukingyu was silent for a long time before speaking. When the group of people brought them food in the evening, they were loosened. It only means that there are more guards around, so they are not afraid of them escaping. Don't act rashly. The group of people, who had been worrying about it all day, were sleepy and tired, and finally fell asleep. It's very cold in the mountains. The carriage and luggage, as well as the swords and arrows, were all taken away, and there was no bedding. Fortunately, there was plenty of firewood in the woodshed, so everyone lit the firewood and fell asleep all night. The next day, the young man named Sun Shao came with his men and took them away. Sukingyu wanted to follow but was stopped by him. You can't do their job. After speaking, he gestured to a woman following him, and the woman pushed Sukingyu and took her away. Then, Sukingyu was taken to the kitchen. There were 7 or 8 large pots lined up in the kitchen, and a dozen women were busy inside. It seems that there is no mention of breakfast. I'm afraid it will be the same as yesterday, with 1 meal at the beginning of the afternoon and 1 meal for Shenzhen, which is only 2 meals a day. Don't stand there in a daze. There are 1 or 2,000 people who need to eat and drink. We are all so busy that our feet are hitting the back of our heads. You should just stand there and watch the scenery, a woman said to Sukingyu. Talk about her? Now that she has just arrived, you are going to reprimand her instead of giving her some advice. Looking at the other people in the kitchen, they were all busy. No one helped her speak, no one even looked at her, they just focused on the work in hand. 1 or 2,000 people. It seems there are a lot of people in this mountain. 1 or 2,000 people need to eat and drink, so they need to be busy from the moment they open their eyes. Otherwise, I might not be able to make it in time for lunch. Sukingyu was pushed and staggered. Before she could stand upright, the woman who had brought her here stuffed a large basket into her hand. Pick these vegetables and wash them. Sukingyu was suddenly thrust into a basket, which was so heavy that she almost lost her grip. Looking around, there was no bench, so Sukingyu dragged a section of wooden stakes, sat down, and started moving. You will enjoy it? The woman who started to scold her said something to her again. Sukingyu ignored her. She had to squat down to pick and wash such a big basket, and her legs were numb and might even break. Some people in the kitchen were secretly looking at Sukingneo, but Sukingneo just pretended they couldn't see them. I just cried out in my heart. 1 or 2,000 people. I'm afraid there are quite a few guards. I'm afraid it won't be easy to escape. I was very anxious. After a while, a young woman followed her example, dragged a wooden stake over, and sat down to pick vegetables, not far from Sukingyu. Sukingyu turned her head and looked at her. Seeing that no one else was paying attention, he asked her, "Were you also arrested?" The woman was stunned, looked up at her, and kept picking with her hands down. Not talking. Just when Sukingyu thought she wouldn't get a response, she whispered, "No. No." Sukingyu turned to look at her. The other party didn't look over again. Sukingyu looked around, but no one seemed to be paying attention. He moved his butt towards her. He rolled his eyes and pretended to be relieved. "I thought you were also caught by bandits." The other party didn't speak. Sukingyu pretended to be immersed in picking vegetables, and suddenly sighed, "My son is still waiting for me at home. I dreamed yesterday that my 2 sons were crying at home and looking for me. I don't know if I can get out of this mountain alive. Look at my 2 sons again." She was pretending at first, but when she mentioned her 2 sons, Sukingyu suddenly felt depressed. "I don't know how long I will stay in the mountains. That group of people is a bit stubborn. She misses the big baby and the little baby. Why should I let go of my good life and insist on coming out? If Lu Bachan wanted to marry a beautiful woman, let him do it. Why should he be influenced by him and leave his 2 sons to go so far?" Sukingyu's eyes were wet and hot. Sniffed. The woman glanced at her and suddenly whispered, "They are not bandits. They will not kill you." Sukinjeo was in a bad mood. "They all use despicable means to capture us. If they aren't bandits, they are nothing. We're just trying to protect ourselves." The woman may have seen that she was in a low mood, or she may not have wanted to hear Sukingyu's excuse for classifying them as bandits. Sukingyu looked at her blankly. But she stopped talking. No matter how Sukingyu tried to seduce him or pretended to be pitiful, the other party would never speak again. Sukinjeo was a little discouraged, thinking about what the other party said. Are they not bandits? Won't it hurt their lives? Just want to protect yourself? Why did you arrest them if you wanted to protect yourself? You don't need money to catch them, just labor? What is the need for labor? Mining silver? After digging a silver mine, do you buy weapons to protect yourself? Is that so? So who are this group of people? If these women weren't captured, who are they? Could it be their family members? Could they be the family members of these bandits? But it can't be just men and women. Don't the family members have children? Just when I was thinking about it, several half-year-old children came over carrying various baskets, filled with various kinds of mushrooms. Heading into the kitchen, calling mother, grandma, aunt. Sukingyu was stunned. "Madam, she has a tender heart." Author, Bhyaoye 11U. Chapter 374. Sudahusi Yuan and others were also taken to the mine early in the morning. Read. The mine is not big. It's much smaller than Sudahu's iron mine in Renzhou. Looking around, there must be about 1,000 people scattered throughout the mine. I don't know if it's because of the shortage of manpower, but I saw many half-grown children and some women in the mine, doing things like carrying burdens and pushing and pulling. Why are they so damaged? They gave us the antidote early in the morning. Why don't they keep feeding us Ruinjin powder if you have the guts? Do you think we are stupid? You caught us here and raised us for free? You're not just here to work. Huabao and Xiaodozi choked again. Soon they were pushed in and asked to smash the silver ore. The group of people kept knocking for a while and looked at the surrounding environment. There is a circle of people guarding the pit, so it seems that it will not be easy to escape. I wonder if I can escape if I make an excuse to go out to let some water go. But soon they thought wrong again. During this period, they asked to go to the toilet several times, but they were escorted from one side to the other. Zhang Yang and others felt that they could knock down the person who was escorting them, but they were afraid of complicating Su Qingyu and others. I had no choice but to endure and stand still. I want to go back and discuss it with Su Qingyu at night. But after waiting for half a month, the two parties never met again. From the day they went to the mine, they never saw Su Qingyu again. They were separated. Su Qingyu was also very anxious. Don't know their situation. His life should be safe, but after being trapped for half a month, Su Qingyu had reached her limit. She couldn't wait any longer. Over the past few days, she has revealed some words one after another. Seeing her harmless look, these women were willing to say a few words to Su Qingyu. Su Qingyu combined the information he inquired and determined that this was a group of soldiers and their family members who accompanied the army. For some reason, they did not follow the large army and fell into the grass. Deserter? Not quite. Counting all the people they captured and took into the mountains, there were less than 2,000 people. After excluding the family members accompanying the army, this group of soldiers is probably less than 1,000 people. That man once said that it was his godfather who brought them to where they are now. That is the opposite of godfather. So whose team are they? Where did it come from? Are you a bandit if you fall off the grass in this mountain? If they don't have any quarrel with their godfather, they can help them find their godfather and let them go. But now I don't even dare to mention my godfather. Afraid of angering them. It seems that they have only mined the silver mine not long ago, and they are eager to catch people to mine a certain amount so that they can transfer it. We can't wait any longer. No matter who this group is, they won't let them go voluntarily. That night, Su Qingyu and other women in the room fell asleep. He touched it quietly. She observed for half a month, and during this time, she changed her defenses and could escape if there was a chance. She didn't dare to look for Xiaoduzi and the others. Firstly, she didn't know if they were still in the woodshed, and secondly, even there, it was strictly guarded. Su Qingyu didn't dare to go look for them for fear of disturbing the situation. He dodged and dodged all the way into the depths of the dense forest. On the other side, Lu Bachan also arrived at Tiantai a few days ago. After asking along the way, I found that Su Qingyu and others disappeared when they arrived at the rooftop. The Tiantai government had received news from Ma Mingwen early and was waiting for their group to arrive. Half a month had passed and no one had been seen. I thought they were traveling all the way and the journey was a bit slow, so I didn't pay much attention. When Lu Bachan went over to inquire, he had never been there. Lu Bachan suddenly became anxious. I asked along the way. After searching the Tiantai area for a long time, there was no news at all. Su Qingyu and his group seemed to have disappeared out of thin air. Could it be that he went directly to Yongjia without going to the Tiantai government office? Lu Bachan hurriedly rode to the yamen of Yongjia mansion to ask. Yongjia officials were also waiting for her. It is said that the goddaughter of the king of Yu has the ability to turn stone into gold, and everyone is waiting for her arrival to lead the people of Yongjia to get rich and have enough food. Unexpectedly, I waited and waited, but no one came. Only then did I know something was serious. Officials from both places immediately sent people to follow Lu Bachan to look for people. Lu Bachan was extremely anxious. I didn't sleep for several nights. When I think about something unexpected happening to my wife, my heart beats wildly. General, please go back and get some sleep tonight. If you are energetic tomorrow, we can come out to see my sister-in-law. You can't bear it even if you don't sleep for days and nights like this. Guo looked at him worriedly. His face was unshaven, his eyes were bloodshot, and he looked exhausted. I can't sleep. When I think about where my wife is, my heart feels like it's fried. It keeps churning. Go Wa wanted to say more, but Jongwoo pulled him hard. Didn't you see that the general was so anxious that he had bubbles in his mouth? You still persuade him. What can I do if I don't advise? The general is about to fall. The two looked at each other fiercely. The group of people followed Lu Bachan in the mountains until the sky was full of stars, but Lu Bachan still refused to return to the city. Seeing that everyone was extremely tired, he ordered them to find a place to rest in the mountains. He himself did not want anyone to follow him, so he left the cave and walked in a higher direction. On the other side, Sukingyu ran staggeringly into the dense forest. I didn't dare to turn on the flashlight, so I just bought an electric stick from the system and held it in my hand. Taking advantage of the starlight, we ran down the mountain. When she first arrived at the foot of this mountain, she remembered that Zhang Yang and the others said they were not far from Tiantai County. Only half a day's journey. If she runs faster, she should be able to reach the Tiantai government office before dawn. When the Tiantai government office sends someone over, Xiaoduzi and the others will be saved after dawn. What? Lu Bachan paused. There was a rustling sound coming from the front. He stayed where he was, his breath caught, hidden in the night. Just pay attention and look towards the sound. Is it a human being or a wild animal in the mountains? The sound was not very loud, just the sound of branches and leaves being knocked against each other, very softly. It's a wild thing, probably a small one too. Lu Bachan breathed a sigh of relief, looked around, then slowly squatted down, hiding his figure through the branches and leaves. Sukingyu was panting heavily while running. But she didn't dare to make too much noise, so she held it back for fear of being discovered and chased. She was also afraid of being discovered by wild animals in the mountains. Can't think about it? Just thinking about it makes my hair stand on end. Don't step on the snake. Don't step on the snake. All retreat, retreat. Sukingyu kept thinking in her heart. Walk all the way towards the mountains. I didn't dare to look either way, I was so scared. But he knew not to be afraid. Dehuo, Xiaoduzi, and the others were still waiting for him to rescue them. They have been digging for half a month and don't know what happened. She was the one who harmed them. Sukingyu's eyes were sore, she bit her lip tightly and burrowed into the dense forest. Hurry up and hurry up. There is breathing sound, it's a person. Lu Bachan straightened his body and looked towards the sound. Small in stature. He looked over at himself. He looked at the voice again. Could it be a half-grown child? Ah. Who? You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Madam, she has a tender heart. Author, Bha Xiaoye 11U. Chapter 375. Woman. How could there be a woman in the mountains in the middle of the night? Lu Bachan was confused. Sukingmei was busy rushing on the road, thinking about this and that, trying to give herself courage, but she didn't expect a dark shadow to appear next to her, which scared her. Who? Her voice was trembling, her hands and legs were shaking, and she raised the electric baton in her hand towards the dark shadow. Don't come over, don't come over. Otherwise I will kill you with an electric baton. Lu Bachan confirmed that this was a woman by the light of the stars. Seeing her holding her fists and raising them above her head, she didn't know what to do. Fearing to scare her, he stood still. Just as he was about to speak, he suddenly heard the other party ask a question, and his body froze, and he was in a trance. Sukingmei saw that the other party didn't move, and asked again in a trembling voice, Who? Don't blame me if you don't speak. Lu Bachan's head was buzzing. Did he hear it wrong? Or did he miss his wife too much and had hallucinations? Why did it sound like his wife's voice? Lu Bachan took a mechanical step forward. Don't come over here, don't come over here, Su Qing'an stretched out the electric baton forward, her voice trembling, her hands shaking. Lu Bachan felt a pain in his heart. He confirmed that this was his wife. Wife? Who? Wife, Qing'an, it's me. The electric baton in Su Qing'an's hand slipped, and she stared blankly at the black shadow in front of her. He called her? Who did he say he was? Seeing her stunned and incredulous, Lu Bachan felt as if someone had cut a piece of flesh in his heart, and it hurt. He strode over, holding her shoulders with one hand, stroking her cold cheek with the other, and scratching her eyebrows with his fingers. Wife, it's me. My heart was tightening. Su Qing'an looked at him blankly at first, and when she heard his voice again, she suddenly threw herself into his arms and burst into tears. Lu Bachan felt a pain in his heart and hugged her tightly. It was as if he was holding a lost treasure, tightly. He buried his head in her neck, and saw her crying and trembling, which made him feel even more distressed. Don't be afraid, it's me. I'm here to find you, don't be afraid, don't be afraid. Su Qing'an couldn't listen, just buried her head in his arms and burst into tears. Don't be afraid, don't be afraid. Lu Bachan stroked her back, gently, again and again, to soothe her emotions. The lady must be scared. Such a deep mountain, with high mountains and lush vegetation, there are dangers everywhere. She, a woman, escaped from the bandits' lair and couldn't even see the road. She must be scared. Lu Bachan hugged her tightly, tightly. Until Su Qing'an was hurt by the hug, she said with tears, "It hurts. Where does it hurt?" Lu Bachan quickly let go of her hand and looked around at her in the moonlight. Su Qing'an didn't say anything, just hugged him tightly. Lu Bachan also let her hold him, his heart was full. "Why are you here?" Su Qing'an asked, even though she was lying in his arms, it was still a little unreal. "I came to find you." Lu Bachan stroked her. "Aren't you in the north? I received a letter from my master and realized that you misunderstood. I was afraid that you and your son really thought I was gone, so I ran back to find you in a hurry, thinking of his plan to marry another beautiful woman in the north." Su Qing'an let go of her hand and tried to break free from his arms. Lu Bachan hugged her tightly again. His face was against hers. Xiao Tuzi heard it wrong. He didn't see me when he arrived in the north. He just asked around and was told by someone with ulterior motives that he ran back in anger. I am wronged. I have done nothing, not even touched a woman's hand, and you told my son that I am gone. Didn't you touch me? No. I am a virgin, and you are the only one in my heart and eyes. I don't believe it. I can swear to the moon. Lu Bachan said, raising one hand and facing the moon, if Bachan has two hearts, and has a woman other than my wife in his heart, may the sky be struck by lightning. Su Qing'an looked at him steadily, and buried her head in his arms again. Lu Bachan was secretly happy when he saw that she stopped talking. He lifted her head and kissed her directly. My wife, I miss you so much. My legs are sore. Ah. Then your husband will hold you. Lu Bachan picked up Su Qing'an horizontally. He found a cave and walked in. In the cave, Lu Bachan picked up a few dry firewood with the tinder he carried and lit them. Seeing Lu Bachan leaning towards her face again, Su Qing'an pushed him away. Did you bring anyone with you? Xiaoduzi and the others are still in the mountains. Don't worry, I'm here. The night is still long. Madam, I miss you so much. After a while, Su Qing'an pushed him away cruelly. I'm worried about them. They followed me out, and I can't watch them get into trouble. Besides, Uncle Ling is old, and I'm afraid he can't hold on. Lu Bachan looked at her with resentment and asked about the situation. Do you have a grudge against master? Are you from the army? Whether you have a grudge or not, I'm not sure. But the other party said that they became bandits because of master. I can confirm that they are from the army. With less than 1,000 men and their families, they never leave. It seems that they are not the kind of treacherous and evil people. Lu Bachan pondered. Well, they don't look like bandits. And I've observed those women, they all rely on them. And there are many children in the mountains, they should have some concerns. It's good that they have concerns. Lu Bachan pondered for a while, walked out of the cave, and paused after only a few steps. He turned to look at Sukingyu, and remembered how frightened she was trembling just now, and felt a pain in his heart. The wife is afraid and he cannot leave her. Put your palms together at the entrance of the cave and blow a few sounds. After a while, there were footsteps rushing towards this direction. Don't be afraid, you are your husband. Lu Bachan turned around and hugged Sukingyu. Sukingyu nestled in his arms, feeling very at ease. Why did you trust him so easily? It's just an oath made to the moon. Or maybe, just when she couldn't hold on any longer, he suddenly appeared, looking somehow taller, so she believed him. Why do you think so of your husband? Lu Bachan scratched her face with his hand. Sukingyu shook her head and lay back in his arms. Lu Bachan smiled and hugged her tightly again. After a while, Sukingyu broke away from his arms when she heard footsteps at the entrance of the cave. Then Go Wa, Zhongwu, and others jumped in. General! Hey, who is this next to the general? Where did you come out of nowhere in the middle of the night? Fox demon! Lu Bachan glared at Guwa and introduced him to Sukingyu. Madam, these are the two soldiers beside me, Lu Changsheng and Zhongwu. The others are soldiers from the Tiantai government office. Hello. Sukingyu nodded towards them. Sister-in-law. Hello, sister-in-law. I've met my sister-in-law. I've met the general's wife. No need to be polite, thank you for your hard work. No hard work, no hard work, I finally found my sister-in-law. If I can't find my sister-in-law again, the general will fall. Lu Bachan glared at Guwa again, talking too much. Go Wa scratched his head and smiled at Sukingyu. Then Lu Bachan ordered the soldiers from the Tiantai government office to go back to the Tiantai government office to move reinforcements. Just lie in ambush at the foot of the mountain. If you don't see me coming down the mountain at noon, attack up the mountain immediately. Yes, a group of soldiers rushed down the mountain. Seeing the soldiers coming down the mountain, Lu Bachan turned to Sukingyu and said, you and I will go up the mountain to have a look. Madam, she has a tender heart. Author, Bhaya 11U. Chapter 376. Gu Changqing was sleeping soundly when he suddenly felt a chill on his neck. Read. He immediately woke up. Do not move. Who? Gu Changqing opened his eyes and saw a long sword across his neck, then he raised his neck and lay back on the pillow. Who are you? How did you get in? Where are the guards outside? Stop looking. Your guards couldn't defeat me. To avoid causing casualties, they let me in. Seeing him turning his head to look for someone, Lu Bachan said something. Soon there were footsteps again outside. Who are you? How did you get in? Pei Yan and Sun Shao were frightened when they saw Gu Changqing being forced with a long sword. I don't know whether I should take action or not. Don't move. Otherwise I'll let his blood splatter on the spot. When Lu Zhong heard the commotion, he didn't even have time to put on his coat, so he put it on and strode in. Don't hurt our general. You have something to say? General, Lu Bachan raised his eyebrows. Interesting. A general, his men and their families fell into the trap of bandits. Soon, Sukingyu, Go Wa and Zhongwu also came in. Is it you, you led people into the mountain? Sun Shaolai stared at Sukingyu. Sukingyu ignored him. General, no one was found. Go Wa said to Lu Bachan. General? Are you also a general? Who is your subordinate? Lu Zhong and others looked at Lu Bachan with their eyes widened. Su Qingyu walked over, held Lu Bachan's hand, and looked at the surprised Gu Changqing. How about we have a chat? Okay, don't do anything. Let's talk. Lu Zhong stared at the sword in Lu Bachan's hand, fearing that if he made a wrong hand and blood would fly. He persuaded with heart. Where are my people? Seeing Lu Bachan trying to withdraw his hand, Su Qingyu held him down again. No, no, don't do anything. Your people are fine. They are fine. I want to see them, Su Qingyu said. Okay, we'll make arrangements right away, Sun Shao. Yes. I'll bring them here right away, Sun Shao responded and left. Only then did Lu Bachan put his sword back. After Gu Changqing put on his clothes, everyone sat in the hall together. Lu Zhong, Gu Changqing, and others kept staring at Lu Bachan. Is this a general? Look at Su Qingyu again. Are these two husband and wife? They captured the general's wife? No wonder this woman said that if she or any of them died, all the people in their mountains would be buried with them. It seems that it is really not false. It seems that this general has more power and more people than their generals. Besides, they are no longer generals. Oops, I'm afraid I'll be surrounded by people. Did you bring someone here? Gu Changqing said to Lu Bachan. Lu Bachan was thinking about his identity, and when he saw him asking, he raised his eyebrows. Otherwise, you have captured my wife for half a month, why don't I bring some people with you? Gu Changqing pursed his lips and glanced at Su Qingyu. Seeing her calm face, I couldn't help but admire her. I heard from my wife that there are women, children, and elderly people in your mountains. I'm afraid my family is quite small. Fortunately, my wife is not injured. Lu Bachan said, glanced at Su Qingyu, and then said, if my wife is even injured, I will flatten your mountain. Gu Changqing and Lu Zhong's hearts were pounding. Fortunately they didn't do anything. It doesn't matter if they die, if they let all their family members die with them, they will die with their eyes open. Lu Zhong saw a circle of people outside the hall and waved hurriedly. If you come here to surround people now, they might be surrounded even at the foot of the mountain. He waved people away. Changqing, are you okay? A young woman ran in hurriedly. Pulling him to look around, Gu Changqing held her down. I'm fine. Where are the children? They are fine, my mother is here. It's okay. Su Qingyu looked at the young woman who came in. It's her. The woman who spoke to her for the first time at the kitchen door said that the men in the mountains were not bandits, they just wanted to protect themselves. Is it his wife? General's wife? Interesting. We are not bad people. Please tell your husband not to do anything. The woman suddenly said something to Su Qingyu. Su Qingyu smiled at her. She had been captured for half a month, worked hard for half a month, suffered for half a month, and frightened them. Xian Niang, don't talk. Go back to accompany the child. I'll take care of it here, Gu Changqing comforted her. The woman named Xian Niang looked at him, then at Su Qingyu and Lu Bachan, and then went down with a worried look on her face. You have a wife, children, and an old lady. You don't want anything to happen to your family, right? Lu Bachan looked at him. They are innocent, you tell your people not to do anything. My wife and I are safe and sound, so of course they won't do anything. Don't worry, we won't do anything, Lu Zhong said hurriedly. Just as Pei Yan was about to move his feet, Su Qingyu glanced at him and he stopped. I'm guessing, are you the original Zhendong Jidushi people? Both sides were engaged in psychological warfare, and Pei Yan didn't know what he wanted to do. Su Qingyu glanced at him and suddenly said this to Gu Changqing. Pei Yan stared at him. Gu Changqing and Lu Zhong also looked directly at her. This woman. You guessed that they are short of money but short of people. You also guessed that they have silver mines and are interested in their weapons. Now, have you guessed their identities? Whose subordinate is this? Do all the wives he marries be so powerful? Lu Bachan also looked at Su Qingyu. He is still thinking about the other party's identity. Did his wife guess it right? Sure enough, his wife is amazing. He has discernment and the wife he marries is the best in the world. How did you guess it? Pei Yan asked in disbelief. Did I guess it right? Su Qingyu's lips curled up. Lu Zhong and Gu Changqing looked at each other and nodded to Su Qingyu. Yes, we were originally subordinates of Zhendong Jidushi. How did you guess that? Su Qingyu smiled upon hearing this. The original Tiantai County was the territory of the Zhendong Jidushi. When the Shuo dynasty fell and the Liang dynasty was established, the 5 states in the hands of the Zhendong Jidushi were transferred to the Zhenese Jidushi. The 12 states were named Yu Kingdom, and Zhenese and Zhendong were changed into Yu Kingdom, which became the territory of the Yu King. I heard that Zhendong Jidushi took his original subordinates to join Emperor Wu, and was favored by Emperor Wu. Didn't you follow? Gu Changqing, Lu Zhong, and others looked at each other. Does this woman know so much about political affairs? Does the general's wife want to know so much? When Lu Bachan was looked at, he felt a sense of pride in his heart. This was his wife. His. Are you from the king of Yu? Gu Changqing asked. Su Qingyu glanced at Lu Bachan and saw that he was not going to speak, so she said, that's right. But my husband is not in Yu Di. What's the meaning? Lu Bachan didn't intend to explain, but just asked, why didn't you follow the original Shangguan? Maybe they all came from the military. Seeing that Lu Bachan was a decent man, Gu Changqing felt aggrieved and suddenly wanted to find an outlet. Why should we follow him? Madam, she has a tender heart. Author, Bha Jiaoye 11U. Chapter 377. The governor of Zhendong imposed excessive taxes and levies, which made the people in the territory almost unable to survive. Even the subordinates were suppressed severely. He also has a suspicious personality and trusts villains, which makes many subordinates dare not speak out. Later, the Shuo dynasty fell and Daliang was established. The Zhendong Jidushi was abolished. Some people went to the king of Yu, some disarmed and returned to their fields, and some followed him to go to Emperor Wu Yangbai. Now that most of the northern forces have defected to the Liang dynasty, how long can Yangbai proclaim himself Emperor of Wu? There are forces all over the south, and it is impossible for him to encroach and annex them. And people have always only recognized the power of the central plains. It is impossible for the Liang dynasty to let Yangbai jump up and down. Why should we follow him to the kingdom of Wu? Wu himself doesn't know how long he can survive. The Liang dynasty will not let him exist. But we don't want to surrender to the Liang dynasty. He is just a usurper of the Qiao kingdom. Gu Changqing did not expect that he would reach this point and be in a dilemma, unable to advance or retreat. Su Qingyu was silent. He glanced at Lu Bachan and said, then why don't you go to the king of Yu? It turns out that the king of Yu has all the people from the Zhendong Jidu envoy. Gu Changqing and Lu Zhong looked at each other. Lu Zhong sighed, we have no dissatisfaction with the king of Yu. We got the news too late. One of our general's lieutenants led more than half of his people to join the king of Yu's people, and he was given an important position. If we stay, we must arrange for him to men. We can't hold back this breath. Su Qingyu glanced at them and sighed. It's impossible for a disloyal and unjust person to expect us to do things with him, Pei Yan gritted his teeth and said. Lu Bachan nodded to express his understanding. If it were him, he would rather be independent than dependent on the other party. You are less than 1,000 people, what are your plans? Are you really going to become bandits? If you still have ambitions, you will just cling to this or that. How to support 1,000 subordinates and so many dependents? He was almost made bald by 10,000 men and horses. They have silver mines. Su Qingyu leaned her head over and whispered. But everyone in the hall heard it. She didn't want to suppress her voice. Lu Baqin slapped his forehead. Oh, yes, you also have a silver mine better than him. But are you sure you can suppress the news? Not to mention the king of you, even if someone else gets the news, it will be extremely difficult for you guys to keep it safe. By then, you will just be making wedding clothes for others. How could Gu Changqing not know this truth? He rubbed his face with both hands. He didn't know how he would go. It's just a matter of taking one step at a time. It's not something that comes to an end, so I don't think about it in the long term. No one in the hall spoke. After a long time, Lu Zhong looked at Lu Baqin. I haven't asked this general yet, what is his name? Who is his subordinate? Lu Baqin was formerly a subordinate of Kui Sheng of the Fengxiang army. What, are you a subordinate of Marshal Kui of the Fengxiang army? Are you Lu Baqin? Gu Changqing, Lu Zhong, and Pei Yan all looked at him. Exactly so excited? Lu Baqin looked at the three of them with some confusion. Is he so famous? Are you so famous in the Southland? So you are Lu Baqin. It's me. But I'm just a young general, unknown. No, 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 we have heard of General Lu. Yes. And we have also gone north before. We saw many places in the north looking for the general with his portrait. We also found out the inside story of the destruction of Fengxiang army through some news. We also sent people to find him before. The whereabouts of Marshal Kui and General Lu. They were all generals of the Shuo dynasty originally. Although they were one in the south and one in the north, who didn't know about the Fengxiang army. They are all colleagues. Unexpectedly, the person in front of him was Lu Baqin, the Huihua general of the Fengxiang army. Lu Baqin didn't know there were these things. Thinking of the marshal lying there alone on a hillside in a certain village, his eyes became wet. The marshal fought for the Fengxiang army until the last moment, and he's gone. When Gu Changqing, Lu Zhong, and others heard this, they also looked up and sighed. This world. All loyal ministers and good generals will not end well. We heard that General Lu is now in the Jing kingdom. He helped the Yan kingdom repel the Liang dynasty's attack before, and the news has spread to the south. Lu Baqin nodded. Seeing Lu Baqin's confirmation, Gu Changqing sighed again. Before, I only heard that General Lu led Fengxiang's remaining 10,000 troops to fight fiercely with the Liang dynasty army. We did not hear any news about Marshal Kui. We had a hunch that the marshal might be gone. Everyone fell silent. Senior brother, senior brother. King Huo. Ms. Su. A bunch of people ran in from outside. King Yu, are you okay? As soon as Sudahu entered the hall, he ran to Su Qingyu and looked around at him. Lu Baqin was being held by Xiaoduzi and turned to look at Sudahu. Si Yuan and others also surrounded Su Qingyu. We are still thinking about how to escape. We are afraid that escaping will harm the lady, but we dare not take action. Unexpectedly, the lady saved us in the end. Are you okay? Su Qingyu looked at brothers Ling Fenggu and Zheng Bo. One of these three people is quite young, and the other two are ordinary people who have never experienced anything like this. They have worked hard in the past half-month. We are fine. We are just tired after working for many days, but we are still in good health. Seeing that they were safe, Su Qingyu felt relieved. On the other side, Xiaoduzi was a little afraid to look at him after meeting Lu Bochensi again. Senior brother, his voice was a little weak, and he lowered his head and did not dare to look at him. Lu Baqin glared at him. You have already arrived at my senior brother's military camp, and you didn't even go to see me. You just listened to what others said. My senior brother doesn't even believe it. Senior brother, I was wrong. Xiaoduzi was a little annoyed. It's all because of his partial belief. Next time you do this, I'll kick your ass. Lu Baqin glared at him. Yes. After Xiaoduzi responded, he raised his head and glanced at Lu Baqin. Seeing that his senior brother was not angry, he immediately stepped forward with a playful smile and hugged one of his arms. "Brother, we haven't seen each other for many years. It's so nice." "Yes, it's been several years. You are almost as tall as me now." Lu Baqin touched his head with emotion. "Hey, my master watched me practice martial arts every day, so I naturally grew taller." "Senior brother, I'm so happy to see you again." "Senior brother is also happy." "Senior brother, have you seen my eldest nephew? Isn't my eldest nephew cute?" "Of course, it doesn't matter who gave birth to her. Isn't it my sister-in-law who gave birth to her, or you?" Xiaoduzi tilted her head and looked at him. "Without me, how could your sister-in-law be born alone?" Lu Baqin curled his lips and looked at him, wondering what he was saying. Xiaoduzi rolled his eyes at him, knowing he would take the credit. "Tisk." Lu Baqin raised his hand and bared his teeth at him. "He." Xiaoduzi ducked to his side. Seeing that there were no injuries among their group, Gu Changqing, Lu Zhong, and others quietly breathed a sigh of relief. If they were injured, how would they explain it to General Lu? You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Madam, she has a tender heart. Author, Bajia 11U. Chapter 378. Seeing that Sudahua, Lingfang and others were in good health, Su Qingyu and Lu Baqin looked at each other. "Thank you, General Gu, for showing mercy. Now that I have found the person I am looking for, let's take our leave now." Lu Baqin hugged Gu Changqing's fists. Lu Zhong advised, "It's late at night and the mountain road is difficult to walk. How about staying in the mountain for one night? Can we send General Lu and his wife down the mountain tomorrow? No, it's a long night and a lot of dreams. Who knows what tricks you might have waiting for us." Xiaoduzi wanted to go down the mountain overnight. "I don't want to stay in this mountain anymore. Yes, I can't stay in this damn place for a moment." Huabao was forced to dig the mine for half a month, and it was on the verge of collapse. "In that case, let's go down the mountain overnight," Su Qingyu said. "Okay." Lu Baqin agreed, turned around and wanted to leave. Gu Changqing, Lu Zhong, and others looked at each other, knelt down on one knee and clasped their fists. "We are willing to follow General Lu, and we are willing to do the hard work of dogs and horses." "Ah!" Lu Baqin turned around and looked at them steadily. He was stunned and did not react for a moment. When he reacted, he hurriedly helped him. Get up, how to say this? One moment you catch my wife working for you, and the next moment you want to follow me and follow the example of a dog and a horse?" Lu Baqin didn't turn around for a while. "General Lu, please accept me." "Yes, otherwise I wouldn't be able to afford it." Su Qingyu glanced at Lu Baqin and said nothing. She kind of understood their situation. Shangguan is unkind and does not want to follow Shangguan. His subordinates betrayed and took refuge with others, and they did not want to fall under his hand and beg for food. The Liang dynasty was in turmoil, and he usurped the throne and established the dynasty by such means, let alone joining the Liang dynasty. Dilemma. Neither advancing nor retreating. There were so many people following him. You should think clearly. If you follow me, you may be worse than you are now. Lu Baqin looked serious. I have thought clearly, I want to follow General Lu. Gu Changqing's eyes were firm. Lu Zhong, Pei Yan, and Sun Shao looked at Gu Changqing and said in unison, we voluntarily follow General Lu. Lu Baqin thought about it for a moment, then leaned over to help the four of them up one by one. Okay. Once I say this, I will never regret it. I will never regret it. Very good. Lu Baqin nodded to them. Lu Zhong signaled to Sun Shao again, and Sun Shao ducked out of the hall. In the hall, everyone looked at each other, some who knew Lu Baqin and some who didn't. Now I know everything. What's happening here? In the blink of an eye, the bandits who came to capture them became General Lu's people? Have you become Mr. Su's husband? Is that one of our own? What kind of twist is this? I wanted to give them a slap in the face when I left. Now it seems that beating is no longer possible. Some regrets. Sudahu glanced at Sukingyu, then looked at Lu Bachan. Seeing Lu Bachan brushing the messy hair on Sukingyu's face with extremely gentle hands, his eyes darkened. Lu Bachan felt someone was looking at him. He turned around and saw that it was Sudahu. He was stunned and suddenly reached out and took Sukingyu into his arms. Sukingyu felt a little confused that so many people were watching. I struggled a little, but unexpectedly the guy hugged me tighter. Following his gaze, I saw him looking at Sudahu. She rolled her eyes and pinched his waist. Lu Bachan made a hissing sound and swallowed it again, holding back. He looked away, but still held her tightly in his arms. Declaring sovereignty. After a while, there were people standing outside the hall. We are willing to follow General Lu, and we are willing to do the work of dogs and horses. A group of people knelt down on one knee and rushed into the hall to clasp their fists. With so many people shouting out such a sentence in the middle of the night, it was quite impressive. Even the night birds flew up in fright. Only then did Lu Bachan let go of Sukingyu and glanced at Gu Changqing. Seeing him making a gesture of invitation, he walked to the door of the hall. Lu Bachan looked at the crowd of people kneeling on the ground outside the hall, feeling excited. Add the four of us, a total of 1,005 people, willing to follow the general, Gu Changqing said behind Lu Bachan. Lu Bachan nodded and stretched out his hands. Get up. Thank you, General. Lu Bachan looked at the people below and said with a serious expression, since you have joined my sect, please be sure to restrain yourself and remember our army's military rules and disciplines. If you commit any offense, you will be severely punished. Yes. After repelling these 1,000 soldiers, Gu Changqing's wife Kui Shixanyang and others arranged accommodation for Sukingyu and others. Lu Bachan, Gu Changqing, and others talked all night long in the hall. I can finally have a good sleep. It's better for me, senior brother. Otherwise, we will have to continue mining tomorrow. Yes, your senior brother is the best. If it weren't for my sister, your senior brother wouldn't be able to find us. That's my sister-in-law too. Huabao curled his lips at him and lay down on the comfortable bed. If all the silver ores dug belong to us, I would like to dig for a few more days. It's better if you dream. Sukingyu washed herself up, fell on the bed and fell asleep quickly. She didn't dare to fall asleep these days. Every day I was thinking about how to escape. Now I can have a good sleep. After a drowsy sleep, she felt someone lying next to her and was startled. Who? It's me. Don't be afraid. Lu Bachan hugged her and patted her. Bo Chang. Well, it's me. Lu Bachan didn't dare to light the lamp when he entered the room. After freshening up outside, I came in the dark and went to bed. Sukingyu didn't see him clearly. She only listened to his voice and smelled his familiar scent. She rolled over and rolled into his arms, then narrowed her eyes. Lu Bachan was approached by Wang Xiang Nephrite. After being naked for so long, his whole body immediately started to scream. In one fell swoop, Sukingyu was turned over. What are you doing? This is someone else's home. Sukingyu was so frightened that she pushed him away. I don't care. I can't bear it anymore. You beast. Sukingyu whined, pushing him with both hands. You are just a beast, madam. I have endured this for so long. Why don't you pity me and my husband? Who wants to pity you? Madam, do you think you don't have me anymore? I protect my wife like a jade, but you have someone else in your eyes. What nonsense. That's Sudahu, he looks at you like that. Don't talk nonsense. Then you make it up to me. Sukingneo was so tormented by him that it wasn't until a ray of morning light came through the window screen that Lu Bachan relaxed and let her sleep. Seeing her sleeping sweetly and obediently in his arms, Lu Bachan couldn't get enough of her. Very nice. This is his wife. Is there any way to tie the lady to my side? He didn't want to be separated from her again. The south and the north are so far apart that it is difficult to see each other once. Maybe it will be many years before we see each other again. He doesn't want this. Lu Bachan hugged Sukingyu. His body was very tired, but his head didn't want to sleep. He didn't want to be separated from his wife for such a long time. And his son, he has missed Xiaobao for so many years and doesn't want to miss him again. The children thought he was gone. When he left, the children cried so sadly. He felt distressed just thinking about it. And now that she has an additional son, it is already difficult for the wife to raise a little baby by herself, and now she has to raise another big baby. He can't let his wife work so hard. What else can we do? Madam, she has a tender heart. Author, Bha Jiaoye 11U. Chapter 379. The next day, Lu Bachan asked Go Wa and Zhongwu to go down the mountain to notify the soldiers sent by Tiantai County to withdraw, and notified the government office that the person had been found. At the same time, he wrote a handwritten letter and sent the news from the mountain to Master quickly. He stayed in the mountains to check on Gu Changqing and others. Sukingnao saw that Lu Bachan was busy, and when everyone came to rest, he also took people to patrol the mountains. She originally wanted to come to Tiantai Yongjia to see the products, help her godfather improve people's livelihood, and solve the mess left by Zhendong Jidushi. The gap between Zhenese and Zhendong cannot be too great. One side is full and the other side cannot even eat. And made arrangements for the group. Let people follow brothers Sudahu and Zhengbo to check if there are any other mineral deposits near the silver mine. Seeing that there was no one around, Lu Bachan, Xiaoduzi and Zhang Yang followed Lu Bachan. Sukingyu took Ling Feng, Si Yuan, and others to patrol the mountain. The mountains in the south are not high, but they have tall trees and dense vegetation. There are no large ferocious beasts, such as tigers, leopards, bears, and wolves. But wild boar with a pair of long tusks are very common. There are a lot of poisonous snakes and other poisonous things, and there are also a lot of poisons. Normally, almost no one dares to go too deep. Fortunately, there is Lingfeng Valley. Although he is not a doctor, he has been collecting herbs in the mountains all year round and is a pharmacist who knows a lot about herbs. With Lingfeng there, Si Yuan and Huabao there was no danger along the way, and we could easily kill a lot of pheasants and hares. Times degree times. Lingfeng Valley entered the mountains all the way, just like a fish entering the water. It was a joy. From time to time, he made a sound and shouted in surprise. Master, the medicinal materials here are really rich, so rich. No matter how rich it is, you can't pick it all the way. We are here to patrol the mountain today. We have circled the location and we can just come back again. The leopard was very irritated by him stopping for a while. At this rate, when will we finish patrolling this mountain? Oh, okay. Sukinjao couldn't help but laugh. It had only been less than an hour, and the basket in Lingfeng Valley was almost full. My boss, how did you know that there are a lot of Dendrobium officinale in this mountain? Lingfeng walked beside Sukingyu and was filled with admiration. Well, I have seen the information that the king of Yu asked the Tiantai County government to send before. It said that the mountains are rich in medicinal materials. Oh, that's right. But tell me, boss, there are so many medicinal materials in Tiantai Mountain, why are we so poor? Along the way, the people seem to have not had enough to eat. What else can I do? I can't sell the treasure even if I have it. Just like in Renzhou before, everyone has fields but they don't dare to plant them, leaving them uncultivated, Si Yuan said. Sukingyu nodded, yes, if you work hard for a day to collect medicine and sell it for 10 yuan, you will have to pay a tax of 9 yuan. Are you still willing to go up the mountain? Don't you still have some money? Huabao said. Do you think anyone dares to enter the mountains? How many venomous snakes have you killed just now? Si Yuan glanced at him sideways. That's right. I don't even earn enough to pay for my life. If a bad guy comes, he can fight with him without fear. I was afraid of the poison hidden in the dark place, and I didn't even know how I died. Everyone climbed towards the mountainside again. Arrived higher. Master, come and see, is this a tea tree? Sukingya crawled closer, panting, and felt happy. Yes, this is a tea tree. Is it the Camellia oleifera tree that produces tea fruits? Si Yuan also gathered around to take a look. This is not Camellia oleifera, this is wild tea. Wild tea that can be picked. Sukingya looked at it, it was so big, and she was very happy. Then we won't be able to pick tea seeds. Tea is not more valuable, Huabao said to him. Sukingya looked around the tea tree again and again, feeling happy in her heart, and said, ordinary tea trees also produce tea seeds, but the tea seeds are small and the oil yield rate is not as good as that of Camellia oleifera. There are more Camellia oleifera in our mountain. But the new ones, there are many new tea trees planted in Zhengjai. In a few years, there will be more tea trees than camellia trees. Wouldn't it be possible to pick a lot of tea from this tea tree? Si Yuan was now being led by Sukingyu, and his eyes were full of copper coins. If you want to reap profits from this wild tea, you need a lot of effort. It takes a lot of cooking and topping to prevent it from growing taller. Otherwise, it will grow too tall and it will be difficult for people to climb up and down to pick tea leaves. Everyone was very happy to find a large piece of wild tea. There are also many bamboos on this mountain, and there are also a few bamboo fungus in the bamboo forest. The mountains in the south are humid and there are many mushrooms in them. There are even more Adenophora and Dendrobium officinale. Other medicinal materials are also abundant. But Sukingyu searched around for the ash tree, but couldn't find it. However, many wild fruit trees were found in the mountains, including bayberries, citrus, apricots, plums, peaches, and mulberries. It is much more abundant than the fruit trees in Renzhou Mountain. There are also many pecan, millet, and other trees in the mountains. Si Yuan followed Sukingyu and was doing property files. Sukingyu walked around the nearby mountains a few times and got a general feel. I have a good idea. As for Lu Bachan, he had a clear understanding of the new subordinates. That evening, I found Sukingyu and discussed with her how to deal with these family members. It was impossible to follow the army. Lu Bachan himself didn't even know where he would be in the future. It was impossible to arrange for these hundreds of people to follow the army. If there is a territory where we can settle down, train the army in the front, and cultivate wasteland in the rear to support military supplies, then it will be okay. But now he doesn't have a territory, so he can't deal with it like this. Seeing Gu Changqing's family members accompanying the army, Lu Bachan had some changes in his heart. He can no longer go as he thought before. This cannot go on. He has to have his own place. You can't always fight one battle and change the place. You can't rely on others. He must have his own source of military supplies, he must have economic and general affairs in hand, and he must have the economy to support the army. Otherwise, the military supplies will be held in someone's hands, and he will have to be led by others. Madam, sit here with me. When Lu Bachan saw Sukingyu coming in, he hurriedly asked her to sit next to him. Gu Changqing and others didn't understand why the general called his wife when everyone was discussing the matter of hundreds of family members. But it was hard to ask questions, so they all nodded and greeted her. After getting to know each other over the past few days, everyone has already passed the awkward period and is now on the same team. I invited my wife here. My wife is in charge of nearly 50 villages in Jiangdong. It can be said that Renzhou was made rich by my wife, Lu Bachan said with some pride. Ah, Madam is in charge of 50 villages in Jiangdong. It's not 50, it's 45, Su Qingyu said. It's amazing. We have all heard of Jiangdong's 70 village, but I didn't expect that Madam actually held a large part of it. When Gu Changqing and others looked at her, their eyes were filled with light. Of course, if the other villages were not in Jiangxi, my sister-in-law would have taken over. They wrote a letter of submission, but my sister-in-law was concerned that the territory was not Yu territory and was afraid of conflict with other territories, so she didn't take it over. Xiaoduzi was quite proud. Who has the ability of my sister-in-law? Madam, she has a tender heart. Author, Bhaya 11U. Chapter 380. Lu Zhong and others did not expect that the dozens of villages in Jiangdong that they had heard were impregnable were actually because of the woman in front of them. Read. We have heard before that Jiangdong Kishi village is invulnerable to bandits for a long time and is as solid as a rock. We heard that the villages have gates and deep ditches, and they are as well defended as an iron barrel and have excellent swords and arrows. Everyone knows martial arts. My sister-in-law led them to make it. Lu Zhong and others looked at her with admiration. As expected of a member of the military, he made the defense of the village so strong. I heard that the dozens of villages in Jiangdong are extremely rich. Now Renzhou is as prosperous as Chang'an City. Su Qingyu smiled, it's not that exaggerated. Renzhou is more prosperous than other places in Yu because it was the first place where Master Pei and I boosted its economy. But it's not the same as Chang'an City. This is an exaggeration. But in Renzhou City, the fields are now harvested twice a year, and a lot of grain can be harvested in a year. Everyone can have enough to eat. There is money in their pockets. Naturally the entire economy will be stimulated. Is she so famous? Has the news reached Zhendong? Lu Zhong looked at her with stern eyes. We had heard about the 70 village in Jiangdong before, so we entered the mountain, thinking that we might be able to survive in the mountain with us. Later, we didn't find anything valuable, but let us discover the silver mines in the mountains. Speaking of silver mines, Su Qingyu thought about it. Said, I'm afraid the mineral deposit is not big, right? Ah, Madam, you know all this? When did Madam go to see it? Su Qingyu smiled and shook her head, I haven't seen it. But she knew that under such precise survey conditions in later generations, no large-scale mineral deposits were found on the rooftop. There were some metal mines, but they were just small and medium-sized mines. How much training have you done? Gu Changqing glanced at Lu Bachan and said, about 300,000 taels. Lu Bachan didn't understand the concept of refining 300,000 taels. Look at Su Qingyu. He had better not speak, otherwise his wife would say that he was a scumbag again. His wife is still awesome. He just listened quietly. He looked at Su Qingyu with a doting look on his face. Su Qingyu didn't know why he was like this, so she glared at him. Looking at Su Changqing, have you found someone to survey the area? We have surveyed them all, but only there is silver stone there. And after digging for nearly 2 months, it seems that it is almost exhausted. Su Qingyu nodded, if you can't dig it out, don't bother digging anymore. This mountain produces a lot, and the tea and medicinal materials on the mountain can be sold for a lot of money in a year. Can it be sold for a lot of money? Lu Zhong looked at her excitedly. Su Qingyu nodded, quite a few. Lu Zhong was a little pity, he would not have gone down the mountain to catch people if he had known about it. However, a drink and a peck are all destiny. Otherwise, there is no chance of meeting General Lu. After talking about things in the mountains, he also talked about the family members who were accompanying the army. They want to follow me to the north. If these family members are not well settled, they may not be at ease, Lu Bachan said to Su Qingyu. Su Qingyu looked at Gu Changqing, what do you want? It is impossible for them to follow us to the north. They are used to living in the south, and I am afraid they will not adapt to the north. Moreover, we are fighting outside and cannot take care of them. But we are not at ease leaving them here. The main purpose is to let the old people know that they are hiding here, for fear that it will be detrimental to them. Sukingyu thought for a while, then let them stay in Yu. Now you are not short of money. You can let them buy houses in the city and settle down in Reizhu or Renzhou, where the Yu prince's mansion is located. Lu Zhong and others looked at each other. They did have this idea before. But now I heard that dozens of villages in Jiangdong are in the hands of the general's wife. There is no shortage of food in the mountains, and it may be safer than outside. Only when their families at the rear are safe can they rush forward without hesitation. Gu Changqing and others looked at each other and said, "Can we let them follow madam into the mountain? The general's wife is also in the mountains. The general will not let his wife and children have any mishaps. If hundreds of family members are placed in the mountains, even if something happens to them on the battlefield in the future, the wife will definitely take care of them. In the future, they will have someone to rely on and support when they grow old, and they will feel relieved. You want them to follow me into the mountains?" Sukingneo was a little surprised. "If it's not too much trouble." "It's not troublesome. But, will they get used to it? We have been living in the mountains for several months. We were not used to it at first, but now we are used to it. And most of us are poor people. Except for a few families who have servants, the rest are ordinary people make a living by farming at home." "How many dependents are there?" "There are 569 adults and children." Sukingyu and Lu Bachan looked at each other, were silent, and then nodded, "Okay. Then come back to Renzhou with me." Seeing that Sukingyu and Lu Bachan agreed, Gu Changqing, Lu Zhong and others heaved a long sigh of relief. The next step is to pack up the things in the mountain. Hundreds of people have to leave, which is no small task. Lu Bachan couldn't wait any longer. He didn't know what happened to his 10,000 troops in the north, and he felt a little anxious. Although he was very reluctant to leave her and had only been with his wife for a few days, he couldn't let go of the north. And these days, he has thought about something and wants to go to the north to cook. In the future, I can be with my wife and son forever. Just when Lu Bachan was about to prepare and leave with more than 1,000 people, Ma Mingwen sent someone. Gave a letter to Lu Bachan and Sukingyu. The letter explained that for people in the mountains, they could stay or leave as they pleased. Vietnam will not interfere with their actions. As for the silver mines in the mountains, Ma Mingwen didn't want them. He gave Sukingyu full authority to handle them and gave them to Lu Bo as military expenses. More than 10,000 people can't work with Lu Bachan in vain. They also have families to support, and they must be given military pay. That silver mine will no longer be confiscated. He also ordered officials from Tiantai and Yongjia to fully cooperate with Sukingyu to revitalize the economies of the two places. Sukingyu's orders were his orders. How did I become the princess of the Yu kingdom? Sukingyu almost thought she had seen it wrong. She is also the princess who takes the name of her country. The godfather scared her. The king of Yu said that the princess was his daughter and should be called the princess. Moreover, all the feudal states sent letters to the Liang dynasty to ask for the title or to designate their own children. The king of Yu only had the princess under his knees. The king of Yu had already requested the princess to be the princess, but before the edict was issued, he hasn't come down yet. The king of Yu didn't say anything. The messenger then said to Lu Bachan, "The king of Yu said that you are the only princess of Yu state now and in the future. Please respect yourself, General Lu. Don't let down my princess of Yu state." Sukinjeo's heart was in turmoil. Godfather must be worried because he heard that the leader of the Jin kingdom wanted to marry his daughter to Lu Bachan. She was afraid that Lu Bachan would be threatened by someone's identity, so she gave her an identity. Lu Bachan was grateful. In this case, it would be more convenient for him to do things. He clasped his fists at the messenger. Bo Chen will remember the words of the king of Yu. He will never wrong the princess. I have met the princess of Yu kingdom. Suddenly he knelt on the ground. Su Qinjiao was a little at a loss. Didn't react. For a long time, everyone, get up. To see Yuan and the others, just keep it the same as before, don't scream, she won't get used to it. Yes. Lu Bachan and Su Qingyu each replied to Ma Mingwen with a letter and asked the messenger to take it away. And the matters in the mountains can be considered settled. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Madam, she has a tender heart. Author, Bhaya 11U. Chapter 381. Thinking of being separated from his wife soon, Lu Bachan felt deep reluctance in his heart. Madam, she held Su Qingdan in her arms at night and refused to let go. Su Qingyu was also very reluctant to leave and nestled in his arms. You and your son wait for me for a few more months. When I have the territory, we can be together and never be separated. Don't work too hard, nothing is as important as yours. My son and I don't ask for anything, we just want you to be safe. Lu Bachan hugged her tightly. Yes, I know. I will be safe and sound. I will stay by your side and protect you from now on. I will never let you be in this situation again. Say what you say and do what you say. Yeah. Keep your word. You won't be lured away by the wildflowers outside, right? Wildflowers are not as fragrant as home flowers. Besides, madam, you are a person of status now. No one dares to give me a woman. Unless the princess comes. Princess Sai, do you want it? Su Qingyu pinched his soft flesh. Ah, I don't dare. Don't you dare? No, no. I mean, there is no one more beautiful or more lovely than the lady. I don't like anyone. Only you, the lady. That's pretty much it? Almost saying the wrong thing, Lu Bachan let out a sigh of relief. Madam, I miss you so much, I want to take you away in my arms. The whispering in my ears became lower and lower until it was no longer audible. The next day, Lu Bachan led 805 people and rushed to the north under the watch of many family members. 200 soldiers were left behind, firstly to work together to dig out the silver mines and extract them, and secondly to escort hundreds of family members to Renzhou. In addition, at first Gu Changqing and others were covetous of the weapons of Su Qingyu and others, but later after Lu Bachan saw them, he also wanted them. The weapons at Ma Mingwen's side were indeed modified by Su Qingyu and sent over. Iron ore was discovered in the mountains, and she later ordered people to refine and forge it in the mountains before sending it to her godfather. When Su Qingyu was working on the defense project of the cottage, he discovered that the current weapons were still mainly made of copper and iron, and the hardness and toughness of the weapons were insufficient. She remembered that during the Han Dynasty, the technology of 100 refined steel became popular. At that time, high-quality steel with high carbon content, few impurities, uniform structure, and good corrosion resistance had been created. But nowadays, when she comes into contact with them, there are almost no weapons containing steel like this. Mainly weapons made of copper and iron. I don't know if it's because the technology hasn't spread, or for some reason. Su Qingyu remembered that the steel sword had actually been born at the end of the spring and autumn period. The satin-making technology at that time had already adopted the technology of carbonizing and repeatedly forging a block of iron for a long time to form a block of carbonized steel. This carbonized steel is sharper and tougher than an iron sword. In order to create weapons for the village that could better withstand foreign enemies, Su Qingyu took Wan Bashan, the blacksmith from Xinjianzai, and others to conduct repeated experiments. The hardness of the sword was increased by a series of improvement processes such as carbonizing, repeated forging, annealing, and surface carbonizing. Later, the solid decarburization of cast iron into steel was used to reduce the inclusions in the sword, making it no longer brittle and difficult to break, making it sharper and tougher. The people with the iron workshop conducted repeated research and made steel-containing weapons that were better than the current ones, and equipped each village with steel-containing arrowheads to make them more lethal. Now that Lu Bachan is pestering her, she naturally wants to support him. Therefore, Lu Bo retained 200 men and followed Sukingyu back to the mountains to pick up new swords and arrowheads before returning to the north. Sukingyu asked the messenger to send a letter back to Xinjianzai, hoping that when she took people back, they would be able to provide their homes and swords. After Lu Bachan left, Sukingyu went to the silver mine in person. The two brothers Zhengbo and Sudahu reported to her that the deposit was not large. "I'm afraid it won't take more than a month to dig them all out." Sukingyu walked around the silver mine and had an idea. They have already refined 300,000 taels before, and the remaining ones should be able to refine hundreds of thousands more taels. Nearly 1 million taels of silver should give Lu Bachan's 10,000 strong army a buffer. It won't make him stretched and controlled by others. Sukinjao didn't want him to be embarrassed by issues such as military supplies and pay, and to do things he didn't want to do, and to compromise and bow to others. She used to think that she had made a lot of money over the years, but now it seems that it is far from enough. Now she shares will and woe with him, and both suffer losses. In addition to supporting Lu Bachan's side, there are now hundreds of family members who need to be resettled after they are sent back to the mountain. After Sukingyu inspected the silver mine, he ordered Sudahu and 200 soldiers to step up their actions to dig out and refine the silver mine as soon as possible. He appeased all the people who had been captured into the mountain one by one and promised that they would be released after 1 month. If they weren't afraid of the news leaking, they could have let them go now. But just in case, they were left behind. But the benefits are completely different from before. Work and rest times are arranged more reasonably to prevent miners from being overtired. He also told the kitchen that they must be fed every meal, including vegetables, meat, soup, and intermittent tea and cakes. After 1 month, in addition to their wages during this period, they will also be given a hard-earned money and travel expenses back home. Suddenly, the morale in the mine suddenly changed. Everyone was comforted and their daily efficiency increased several times. Sukingyu handed over the matters in the mine to Sudahu. The family members in the mountains were handed over to Kui, Gu Changqing's wife, and asked to manage them. 200 soldiers asked Xiaotuzi, Zhang Yang, and others to help. She took Ling Fengwu, Zhengbo brothers, Si Yuan, and others to meet with officials from Tiantai and Yangjia. Tiantai, Yangjia and other places want to keep their people fed and clothed like Renzhou and several other states, and food is the top priority. If people in several prefectures east of the town want to implement 2 crops in one land, they have to rely on local officials to publicize and allocate grain. In some places, mandatory measures may be implemented and a large number of manpower may be deployed for supervision. The technology of 2 crops in one place is not too difficult. People who have worked for years understand it immediately. The main thing is to connect the time well, otherwise the last season's grain will be frozen and cannot be harvested. In the first year, we still have to rely on the governments of these states to take the lead in publicity. Enhance people's confidence. Sukingyu purchased another 10 hectares of fertile land in Tiantai and Yangjia, hired people there and signed a lease. Maybe the people around them see that someone around them has successfully experimented, and some people are full and making money. This will have a driving effect, and the 2 crops in one place will be developed smoothly. After buying the land, Sukingnao also bought many shops in the 2 states. There are many products in the mountains of the 2 places, including a large amount of tea and medicinal materials. She has bought shops in the 2 places to collect various supplies. I believe that with her help, there will be a linkage effect between the 2 places. Slowly, the business atmosphere in the 2 places will be stimulated. and the godfather no longer has to worry about the governance issues in these states. Only when food and clothing are provided first can the people's hearts be settled. If their hearts are determined, they will not leave their hometowns again. And when people's hearts are stable and they need food, clothing, and supplies, the market will be brought to life. When the market is alive, the economy is alive. These places gradually became prosperous. If people's hearts are consistent, the land will naturally become more stable. No need to use force to govern. In a month, Sukingyu traveled through the mountainous areas of the two states. Xiangshang, Wei Fucane, and others were also welcomed. Madam, she has a tender heart. Author, Bha Xiaoye 11U. Chapter 382. Princess. Read. It's still the same as before. Yes, boss. Sukingyu looked at Wei Fucane and Xiangshang, as well as the dozen or so people they brought with them. It's been a hard journey. It's not hard work. Now that Yu is under the rule of the king of Yu, everything is peaceful and the road is much easier. Nothing happened at home, right? Wei Fucane shook his head. Everything is fine at home. The winter wheat harvest is being prepared in the mountains, otherwise my father-in-law would also want to come over. Dabao and Xiaobao also made a fuss to follow, but Master Ma stopped him. Sukingyu shook her head and laughed. It has been 2 months since she came out, and she misses her children too. Come out. Is there no problem with my sister and Ning Ning? It's okay. My father-in-law and mother-in-law are all here, and there are people from the village who can help. Besides, I have settled things here and will go back soon. Sukingyu nodded, told them about the fields and shops, and asked them to take people to deal with it. Xiangshang and Wei Fucane knew that she would open many shops this year and help train many people in the mountains, not only from Xinjianzai, but also from other villages. Many mountain people have lived in the mountains all their lives and don't have many opportunities to come out. Now that I have the opportunity to come out to exercise and study, walk around and see more, people who sign up to study are very enthusiastic. Sukingyu hopes that among these people, some outstanding clerks and shopkeepers can be trained. Tiantai Yongjia and other places have to open various shops, including tea shops, medicine shops, and sauce shops, and they need a lot of people. Fortunately, Sukingyu now has no shortage of people. Sukingnao settled the matter with Wei Fucane and Xiangshang. Soon, the two of them took people to the shop to work. Sukingjao had also brought a letter to Manager Li of the Yongfeng before. This time, Manager Li also asked Wei Fucane to bring the letter. Wingfeng decided to follow suit. I will also come to the states east of the town to open branches. There is no conflict with Sukingyu's business. Xinjianzai is responsible for the source purchase of these states. Yongfeng has other businesses. Medicinal materials and tea will be purchased from Xinjianzai and then transported to other places for sale. Production and acquisition are still left to Xinjianzai, while distribution is handled by Yongfeng. It would be harmonious for both families to have one each. As for the mountainous areas in these states, Sukingyu did not want to manage them in the same way as Jiangdong 45th village. Apart from holding the mountain deed to the mountain where the silver mine was discovered and planning to send people to plant Dendrobium officinale, black medicine, and tea trees, she had no plans to build a stronghold. She has set up shops in the cities of these states to purchase various supplies. The people of these states can naturally see the business opportunities and make money, so they will naturally follow the picking and follow the trend of planting. Slowly, if a county is strengthened with medicinal materials and a state is strengthened with tea, it will naturally grow in scale. Maybe in the future, the price of mountainous land in these states will be more expensive than fertile land. There is no need for her to send people to station, build villages, and bring in mountain people for development. As long as her business is responsible for purchasing various materials in several states, if someone takes it, someone will naturally send it to sell. When the goods are sold, money will naturally enter their pockets. Slowly, the gap between Zhendong and Chinese will gradually become smaller. The lives of the people will gradually get better and better. After things were arranged, Su Qingyu planned to return to the village. I have been away for more than 2 months and I feel homesick. Before leaving, Su Qingyu gathered hundreds of family members in the mountains together, intending to explain to everyone. When she saw them again this time, she was already different from when she was captured into the mountains and saw them. The mental outlook is completely different. At that time, they occupied the mountains as bandits and looked defensive towards others. Always keep your heart in mind, do not open your mouth easily, and do not talk to others casually. He always looked alert to everyone he met. But it's better now. The men are no longer bandits. They are now military dependents, and their status is respected by others. They no longer have to worry about being discovered or being picked up in their sleep. And now that we have food and clothing, we can see the future. The female family members all looked cheerful and kind, with smiles on their faces. The children also showed their liveliness and mischief that they should have at their age. I often see them laughing and chasing each other in the mountains. It was completely different from the dead silence before. Lady. Princess. There are whatever they are called. Su Qingyu didn't correct them either. He smiled at them and said, "We are moving, have we packed everything?" "It's packed. We can't wait to go." Su Qingyu looked at them with a smile. She believed they meant what they said. Now that our identities are different, our lives are secure, and everyone is happy. Previously, Lu Bachan had given the family 30 taels of resettlement silver, and together with what they had taken before, every household had some silver in their hands. And when they get to the mountains, Su Qingyu will also divide the mountains into their hands. If you have money, land, and a house, you will naturally feel confident and look forward to your future life. The children were even more excited. They were all happy when they heard that they could go out. In the past, adults used to restrain them, fearing that their running and jumping would attract bad guys. They all kept them in the mountains and wouldn't let them go out. Now the adults no longer keep them in check. They run around in the mountains every day and go to nearby towns and Tiantai County many times. The children are looking forward to a change of environment. As long as I am with my family, can wear warm clothes, eat well, and sleep peacefully, I will be happy. The last silver stone was dug out, and the captured miners were sent away with a large sum of money to appease them. The silver stones have also been refined, sealed, and prepared to be transported away, and then 200 soldiers will be transported to Lu Bachan's army in the north. These days, Ling Fenggu also led people to select land in the mountains and planted some Dendrobium officinale and Weiao. Seeing that he was about to return to Renzhou, he also took the time to explain to the people who took over, asking them to expand the scale and continue. He planted many kinds of these 2 kinds of medicinal materials in his enclosed land. Su Qingyu also led people to trim the tea trees, and handed over the affairs of the mountain to Xiangshang, asking him to arrange for people to guard the mountain and make follow-up arrangements before going back. From now on, this mountain will be the base of their Xinjianzai in Tiantai and Yangjia. There are so many medicinal materials, tea trees, and various other products grown in the mountains that outsiders are not allowed to destroy and pick them. Someone must be sent to guard the mountain. Fortunately, the houses built by Gu Changqing and others in the mountains are enough for people. Even if Xiangshang buys more servants in the local area and goes to the mountains to see the mountains, it will be enough for him to live there. On the day of departure, the mountains were boiling early in the morning. There were hundreds of family members, old and young, plus 200 soldiers, making it a large area. Coupled with the hundreds of carts pulling various things, as well as horse-drawn carriages, donkey carts, and ox-drawn carts, etc., it was so vast that you couldn't even see the head or tail. After struggling for more than an hour, the team set off from the mountain. There were too many things along the way, so we walked very slowly. This team of thousands of people shocked everyone along the way. I also saw some bandits along the way. But because there were 200 soldiers armed with weapons escorting them, no one dared to take action.